Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I want to thank you all for having me tonight, and thank you very much, Ken, for inviting me. I was working on this talk today. I had dedicated the whole day to preparing for this, and I was going to prepare this structured presentation about myself and about me being on the board and about MUFON and about the UFO field and blah, blah, blah. And then I looked on the Drudge Report. Has anybody seen the Drudge Report today?
No. Not me. I've got busy.
Nope.
Yep. Well, something very interesting and very important happened. There was a story in the New York Times and in Politico. And in the New York Times story, which is a pretty serious story, they have a gun camera film of a UFO from a Navy fighter jet. Now, I don't know how long you all have been in the UFO field, but as far as I know, the government has never sanctioned a gun camera film of a UFO. In fact, the government's never sanctioned anything about UFOs. Now, how did this come about? This is kind of interesting. But first of all, I'd like to know, how many of you all are MUFON members? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Have any of you completed the field investigator training? Okay, good. More power to you. Great. Has anyone in this room ever heard of a man by the name of Tom DeLonge?
Yes.
Okay. He's been making a lot of promises and claiming that he has inside government contacts. And some people have been getting kind of frustrated because they keep waiting for whatever these revelations are. But this actually happened today. Now, we actually had a MUFON board meeting on Wednesday, and I was informed that this information was supposed to come out this week. And there was a certain amount of skepticism about it. But it actually did happen today. Now, I mean, yeah. Let's see, where was I? Oh, the New York Times. The New York Times has had a blackout on UFOs for years and years and years and years. Now, I was talking about this film being posted in the New York Times and being discussed in Politico. You are not going to publish a gun camera film of a Navy fighter jet viewing a UFO without without higher ups sanctioning it. Okay, so I'm trying to emphasize to you how significant this really is. Now, it's not full disclosure by any means, and there's been a lot of expectations within the UFO field, hoping for disclosure, and that's a whole nother topic. I can talk about that as well. But this is a little bit different. Now, this Tom DeLonge person, I'm going to read you a little bit from the current MUFON journal that came out this month. Tom DeLonge was the front man of a rock music band known as Blink 182 and Angels and Airwaves of the 1990s. After retirement from his rock music career, DeLonge devoted many years to the study of UFOs and established an entertainment company called To the Stars, also known as TTS. TTS' goal was to release information on UFOs, paranormal experiences, consciousness, and other mysteries through nonfiction and fiction books, television shows, and feature films. During the course of this period, DeLonge was able to establish relationships with retired military officers and other insiders in the Department of Defense, NASA, intelligence, and corporate communities. With support from these individuals, DeLonge's goal was to develop an incremental release plan for what he was told via TTS. Given DeLonge's notoriety with his fans in the 1990s, his target audience was to be the younger generation. Okay, so this To the Stars organization has some pretty, at least what DeLong would like us to believe are pretty high-level people. Luis Elizondo is a former Department of Defense program director involving the study of anomalous aerial threats. Jim Semivan is a 25-year veteran of the Central Intelligence Agency's Director of Operations. Stephen Justice was former program director for advanced systems at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Dr. Hal Puthoff is president and CEO of EarthTech International. In 1967, Puthoff earned a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford University. He then worked with and invented tunable lasers and electron beam devices in which he holds patents. And finally, Christopher Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and later for Security and Information Operations. These guys refer to themselves as the team. Now, this article that came out in the New York Times today, I want to update you on this. The article is about a program in the Department of Defense, which was called the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. And this is from an article in Politico. Its existence was not classified, but operated with the knowledge of an extremely limited number of individuals. It was the brainchild of then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, who first secured the appropriation to begin the program in 2009 with the support of late Senators Daniel Inouye and Republican Ted Stevens, two World War II veterans who were similarly concerned about the potential national security implications. The sources involved in the effort said, the origins of the program, the existence of which the Pentagon confirmed on Friday, are being revealed publicly for the first time by Politico and the New York Times in nearly simultaneous reports on Saturday. And the interesting thing about this to me is Robert Bigelow. How many of you in this room have heard of Robert Bigelow? Okay, billionaire businessman in Las Vegas. And apparently, based on these articles that I read today, and I just learned about this today, but the program had a budget of over $20 million. And they contracted a lot of the work to Robert Bigelow. Now, Robert Bigelow approached MUFON during the time that this program was going on, and he arranged with us to provide investigative information to his group. Now, at the time, we didn't know that this was apparently being funneled to this DoD program. But if you all have heard of the MUFON STAR Team, that's when the STAR Team was formed. And we were enthusiastic about the situation because Bigelow was able to provide funds so that we could fund investigators to go anywhere in the country that they needed to go if we had hot cases. So we saw this as a real opportunity. Meanwhile, people were thinking that MUFON is working for the CIA, okay? That was kind of an unfortunate side effect of it. But I'll tell you, after reading this article today, I'm pretty well convinced that MUFON was being used to provide information to this program. Now I'm not claiming that we provided all the information that they got, because apparently they were working with pilots who had sightings. They were concerned with possible technological threats. I think the DoD people were originally concerned that maybe the Chinese or the Russians had something that we didn't have. And they took these reports seriously. So Mr. Bigelow has been involved in this, and this group of people are involved in this, and I'm talking about this tonight to give you all a heads up. because I see this as a pretty important development in the current UFO field, and some people are taking leadership roles in this. Now, we get into the whole question of disclosure, okay? And we've had we've had people wanting to crack this whole thing open, get the government to disclose what they know about UFOs, and that's probably not going to happen, okay? Because you got to look at it this way: the guy, if there's something very secret about the whole UFO problem that some section within the deep state knows about, they have nothing to gain by disclosing it. Okay? So this whole disclosure question is kind of a conundrum, and it's not something that I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for the government to disclose something. But actually today, something actually was disclosed with DoD approval. So
Tom, can you use this one? We just lost your mic.
we're seeing
Yeah, you gotta hold like that.
we're seeing a possibility here that maybe this is a trial balloon. Okay? Maybe they're trying to find out what the public reaction is. Now, when I was talking about this with Jan Harzan, the executive director of MUFON this week, and he was telling me about this possibility, I said, look, unless they have unassailable evidence that can't be disputed, and unless it's sanctioned by major media, it's not going to go anywhere. Okay? But they have an actual gun camera film from DoD, and it's been in the major media in New York Times and Politico. So those two criteria were met. Okay? Now I don't want to beat this to death, but I just want to give you all a heads up. Okay? And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.